Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tell Me Why, a short, sharp, well, we hope sharp podcast for busy Beatles people on the go who want to be in the know. I am your host, Jude Sutherland Kessler, author of the John Lennon series, and I want to tell you today about something that I do that you may not know about. It's free, it's fun, and I think you just have a great time. In fact, I lose money on it because we buy lots and lots and lots of prizes, but it is community building and we would love for you to attend. It is a free webinar every other month called John Lennon Focal Points, or just Focal Points if you prefer. And we always focus in on some topic in the Beatles world. Well, coming up on September the 8th, the Tuesday evening at 7:30 p.m., we are going to be getting a sneak peek from Volume 6 in the John Lennon series. And even if you don't read the John Lennon series, you might be interested in this topic. We are going to explore exactly how John wrote the lyrics for Tomorrow Never Knows, because the belief is that he copied the words, stole the words, lifted the words from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Number one, it wasn't the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And number two, he did not lift the words, and we'll find out why or why not. We'll go through the stages of the lyrics. I'm going to show you all the different lyrics and how they were written, and we're going to play a rare track of Tomorrow Never Knows. So join us for a very interesting evening. That is Tuesday, September the 8th at 7:30, and we'll have a great time. We play trivia at the end and we give away 10 pretty darn good prizes. So hope to see you there. Now, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce someone I think the world of. He is a diligent and dedicated researcher. And over the last 7 years, he has uncovered and delved into a niche in the Beatles world that no one had explored before. And it is opening such new information for all of us that we maybe never even thought about. We think about the impact of the Beatles on the record world, on fashion, and on art, peace. There's so many ways that they touched our lives, but there is a whole nother category that our guest today has really researched and looked into that you are going to be interested in, and we're going to hold them up and let you see them. Now, people on Beatles-orama radio who are listening without being able to see the visual, if you want to see the visual of these books, you can go to Tell Me Why on YouTube and see the visual of these books as well. So welcome everyone, and welcome to our guest. We'll talk about his books in a minute. The one, the only Terry Crain. Hey, Terry, glad to have you here.
Thank you, Jude. I always love being on your show. You do such a wonderful job, and it's a pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here.
Well, the one thing that I did not say in the introduction, but it is the most important part of your introduction, is that you are one of the kindest, most helpful, friendliest, nicest people in the Beatles world, hands down. I just finished reading Theo of Golden. I don't know if you've read Theo of Golden, but he reminds me so much of you. He really cares about people, really, and not a fake, insincere thing. He genuinely cares and is there for people. And that's you, Terry. So I am so thrilled that these books are amazing. Congratulations on your brand new one. So
Thank you.
let's look at them. Book number one, guys, which is NIMS and the Business of Selling Beatles Merchandise in the United States, the US, 1964 to 1966, walked us through all of these. You can see them on the cover. The Beatles record carrying cases and the lunch boxes and the wigs, combs, hairspray, bubble bath, games, you name it, dolls, and how making and marketing those quickly turned into the Beatles business. It is a beautiful and fascinating book. Let me just hold up a page for you to see. And this came out, what, 7 years ago, Terry? Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Anything you want to add to what I just said about that first book? Is it
It,
still available?
the second edition is, yes, it is out there. It's still out there, and it's just fun. It's all the wild and wacky stuff that we love to look at,
And the story
and the
of,
stories.
yeah, and the story of NIMS and marketing these, and of course, what happened in America, what Brian found out when he got over here. What was he given, a $10,000 check in the limo?
He
But
was.
yeah, that was a wake-up call. The second book, Copywriting the Beatles, does another deep dive into the world of copyrights. Now, I'm talking about copyrights for plays, theater productions, screenplays, artwork, jewelry. What else, Terry?
Yeah, you name it, people would think of it. Spoken word speeches, things like that that you and I wouldn't think that people would copyright. Uh, Pictures they would draw. They'd sit at the kitchen table, draw a picture of John, decide this is so good, I'm going to make $1 million off of it. So they'd do a copyright of it and send it in. Nobody printed it, but by golly, there's still a copyright of it.
What about the books, just regular books? Or do you include that as well?
Yes, anything that was copyrighted, like the book of Hard Day's Night, the
Yeah.
book of Help, those kind of books and stuff like that. If they all had copyright dates on them, they are all out there in the Library of Congress with a copyright notation right out there.
Goodness. I mean, that is a lot of research. Then, just what, 3 days ago, Terry released this. I love all of the books, but I think this is my favorite one. I am keeping this by my bed because I just sit there and go turn page by page and look through it. It's how you used to get the Sears catalog for Christmas and you could not wait. This, for Beatles fans, this is your dream catalog because this is Beatles novelty songs, 1964 to 1966. Check it out, baby. It's big. How many pages is it, Terry?
Over 650 pages, 2 inches thick, and it weighs 5 pounds.
And how many books? I mean, how many novelty songs are included? Do you know?
500 plus.
Woohoo! I'm gonna give you guys a glimpse. And again, I apologize to the people on Beatles-orama that you're not getting to see the image, but as I said, go to tell me why. Here's a typical page layout. You get the person who wrote and produced the record in the middle. All around it, you get pictures of the record, newspaper clippings. There's such great images. This is an incredible book. So, Terry, tell me why this intrigued you and why these novelty songs are such an important niche in the Beatles world.
Well, I think it's just another piece of the Fab Four story puzzle. You and I, and all these authors, we go to the shows and we're all on stage together and we all talk about our different books. And the subject matter is so diverse that people talk about. There may be 10 or 15 people on stage, the authors, and all those books they talk about are so diverse. And I will admit, I have this genre that I am drawn to, which is just the goofy and the fun part of the 60s. I'm not the author that writes the big stuff and all that and long stories and all. That's great. I love those. I love those kind. But I am the what in the world is that song about? What is that doll about? What is that? That's what I like. It's the goofy. I call it the festive confetti of wild and wacky items. So whether it's the dolls and games or jewelry or weird copyright items or wacky novelty songs, it's the Wild West of Beatlemania is what I like to get into.
But it took tons of research as well, didn't it?
It took a lot of research to do this.
Now, you mentioned going to the Library of Congress to do it. Did you actually go to Washington, D.C.? And
No, no, the Library of Congress has a wonderful, wonderful online version that you can access for free and take care of. And they have digitized every single, like from 1964, for example, every page that has copyrights in it of the Library of Congress, which are just hundreds and hundreds, are digitized and they're searchable. And it's just, they've done such a wonderful job. That helps so much in my type of research that I do like that. Once I found that out, the rest of it was okay, I can deal with the rest of it because this part is so easy to do that.
Yeah, I remember the very first time I heard about the internet. I was working at the YMCA in Kansas City, and one of the other executive directors said to me, "Do you know about the internet?" And I said, "No, I don't know what you're talking about." And he said, "Well, what subject would you like to explore?" And I said, "John Lennon." And he said, "Okay, let's see." And he typed it in and he went, "There are," and this is low now, "there are 1,100 sites about John Lennon." And I was like, "What?" I mean, it's changed our lives,
It
hasn't
has
it?
changed. Yes, it is. It's changed our lives. It has changed our research methods. Sometimes it's added to it. Now, the bad thing about it, and you and I do the same thing probably. I go down a rabbit hole for 4 hours. I'm go looking for one thing, and 4 hours later, I forget what I started, what I was looking for, but I found these other 13 things that are pretty cool. So, I mean, it's just part of the deal.
That made my day because I cannot tell you how many times I'm writing a chapter and I come to something and I think, I don't know if I think that's right or not. I'm going to go look that up. So I go to Google or whichever I'm using, and I'm getting ready to type in PJ Proby's album, blah, 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 blah,
Mhm.
blah.
Mhm.
And I see Bingle will say Joe Burrow is going to be out the first two games. And like 30 minutes later, I'm like, what was I even doing? So I'm glad I'm not the only one.
No,
But let
you're
me,
not.
this book, and first of all, it may be the wild and wacky, but it is not wacky. It's wild. But I got an email from Mark Lewison months, a couple of months after I started Tell Me Why. And he said, I've seen your new podcast. I wanted to check out what Terry Crain had to say. And that is as far as I know, and he hasn't emailed me that he's seen any other show. It is so respected. What you do is so respected. And if Mark Lewison is taking time to go watch it, wow. I mean, that says all you need to hear. So
I sure truly appreciate that. That's pretty cool.
I know I was really excited about it too. If I'm ever going to be a fangirl, I'm going to be a fangirl of Mark Lewison. Okay, so guys, I want to show you the double page layout. Now, your first books, the layout was done by Andrew Croft.
Mhm.
And the work that goes into just the layout of these books is incredible. Did Andrew do this one? And if not, who did it?
Here's what I did. I had a vision of the cover. I knew what kind of cover that I wanted to, so I drew it out, used some stuff on the computer, drew it out. So I sent that vision to Andrew Croft in Canada. He does a great job, a great Beatle friend. And this is what he came up with for the cover, all right, which was wonderful. He did the cover and he did the back for that. Every single other thing that you see in the book was me. I did every single, every diagram, every little bitty thing that you see in there. And yes, it took quite a while, Jude, but that's all me once you get in there, which I'm hardly can believe it myself, but that's me.
Okay, you must have been working on this simultaneously with the other three books, were you?
The first the once I got out and saw some copyrights and saw some novelty records that were out there, I would keep those off to the side and all that. And the last 2 years, I really dove into getting I'll focus everything onto this book right here. And
What?
probably about I would guess probably about a year or so ago, and you know how this happens. I'm staring at the manuscript, and all of a sudden, this word comic book pops into my head. And I thought, these are such a wild and wacky things. What a great subject matter. There's so many of these songs out there. This can't just be a typical book written like that. It has got to have the comic book style that just it just needed that. And once I did that, and once I started realizing, man, what have I done? Because this is very hard and time consuming to do all that, but it just kept growing and growing and growing, and I had to keep going.
It's incredible. I mean, when I think about just inserting photos into my page and thinking, where do I want to put this photo? Because I don't want it to interrupt what I'm saying, and then inserting it and making it crisp enough. And then right before we go to publication, Rand goes through every single photo and says the DPI on this one isn't sharp enough. We're going to
Yeah.
have to take it out, rephotograph it, do all of this work. It's an incredible amount of work. So
It
congratulations to you.
Thank you. It is a lot of work. And you know what? I'm just like you. You'd be going along and I'd go, please, I hope I don't find another song that I have to insert right in the middle of page 253 or so, and it screws up everything that's gone on after that. So it's a labor of love is what it
It
is.
is a labor of love. It
Yeah.
is. There's no doubt about it. And for everyone that says, "Oh, you're making money off the Beatles," no, we're not.
No, we're not.
Absolutely, absolutely, no, we're not. We do
No,
this because we love
no,
it. And Terry,
zero.
by the way, I wore this shirt for you and all my pins.
I like it.
There you go. There you
It's
go.
perfect.
Okay, walk us through this book. Give us like five or six typical novelty songs and tell us the story.
One of the things that I think that drew me so much into the novelty songs is just like the things that drew me into the dolls and that kind of stuff. I loved the backstories. It wasn't just that I heard this song and it wasn't very good, or my gosh, what a goofy song and all that. It's the backstory of the songs and I'm still drawn into that. For example, I'm going to give you five songs that we're going to do. The first one is A Beatle I Want to Be, and this happens to be the 45 record for it right there. And it's by Sonny Curtis. Well, Sonny Curtis was one of the Buddy Holly and the Crickets. He was in the Crickets. So what Sonny Curtis does, he writes along with Lou Adler, who was the record and the film producer. Sonny Curtis writes this song in January of 64. How about that? Before even Ed Sullivan hits.
Wow.
Sonny Curtis writes this song, A Beatle I Want to Be. Now, what is, though, the coolest thing that I find about these records like this? It's not just the song and all that, but who in the world is on this record? Who's the background guys on this record? Well, let's see. We've got, if you're talking about Buddy Holly and the Crickets drummer, who is Jerry Allison, he's on there. The Crickets guitarist, Tommy Alsop, was on there. Who's else is playing guitar? Billy Strange and some guy named Glenn Campbell is in the background also playing. And then who is on keyboard in the background? Leon Russell. So when you find these little stories like this, all of a sudden these songs take on a little different meaning is what it is. Now, my second one I want to tell you, and some of these are the standard ones. So this is a standard one too, is Ringo I Love You, which was in December of 64. You have a young 16-year-old Bonnie Joe Mason, who is basically a background singer for some of the other big singers at that time. And the producer, who was this guy named Phil Spector, the producer writes a song. He says, I want you, Bonnie Joe Mason, to step forward. You get behind the mic. It's your first time at 16 years old, and you sing this song. And she's nervous, and she gets out there and she sings it and all that. And Ringo, I love you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. One of those kind of things. Well, the song doesn't do very well because Bonnie Joe Mason has such a low voice that the DJs in the area and everything thought, wait a minute, this is a guy singing to Ringo, Ringo, I love you. Well, this is 1964. We're not playing this song on the radio. So Bonnie Joe Mason and some of the executives of the record, they had to go around and visit all these DJs and say, no, 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 it's not a guy singing that. It's me. I just happen to have a low voice and all that. Well, the song didn't do very well. And Bonnie Joe Mason went on later on to be a worldwide superstar. And yes, Bonnie Joe Mason was really Cher. That's who did that. And it's just one of those asterisks that you do. Another asterisk is a song called "All for the Beatles." Stand up and holler. All right. Well, that's on Robin Hood Music, May 20th of 1964. But who sings that? A young Harry Nilsson, who is one of the Beatle friends from back then. And at that time, when Harry Nilsson, he was beginning his songwriting career before Midnight Cowboy, before all this other stuff like that. And they interviewed him years later, Harry Nilsson, about this Beatles song. And once he was an established songwriter and all that, and he says, you know what? When I wrote that, he says, I was working at a bank. He said, and I hated the Beatles because I'm thinking they're beating me to the punch. But I said to myself, yeah, they really are that good. So Harry went on with his own thing. But if you ever listen to All for the Beatles, Stand Up and Holler, that's Harry Nilsson also. Now, another one that I always think is so cool is you get this song called The Beatle They Left Behind by Fred Ebb and Norman Martin, released on Some Bean Music Company, came out February 12th, 64, 3 days after Ed Sullivan. They copyrighted that song right there. Now, I think really this song is unreleased. I don't think there is a 45 version, and I can't even find an album version of The Beatle They Left Behind. The only thing that I've ever seen is on the Jackie Gleason show on Saturday, July 4th of 1964. There was a comedian named Johnny Hamer. He performed this song on the Jackie Gleason show. That's the only, and I cannot find actually that performance, and I'm looking for it now. So you're going, well, Terry, why are you including this into this? Well, Fred Ebb, who was the songwriter, was trying to cut his teeth on how good a songwriter am I and all that. So what does Fred Ebb do later over the next few years? You got Fred Ebb, who was part of the Candor and Ebb later on songwriting partnership. Now, what do they do later on? They produce and write the Broadway musicals Cabaret. They do Chicago. They and yes, Jude, Fred Ebb, who cut his teeth on a Beatle novelty song, wrote "Start Spreading the News, New York, New York." Now, how cool is that? You got Fred Ebb, who's a Tony Award, Grammy Award, Emmys, Kennedy Center Honor, Lifetime Achievement Award, and inducted in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. But he started with, yes, the Beatles novelty song. And then one of my fifth one that I was gonna tell you about is a song called um, "My Boy Flat Top." All right, and you're going, Terry, I don't even know what that song is. Well, let's just do something here for My Boy Flat Top. My Boy Flat Top was by Fia Chaplin. It was released on the Zodiac Records in 1964, and it was out of New Zealand. Okay, so the executives, I can just see them now. All these executives are sitting around going, wait, we got to get in on this Beatle craze. The Beatles are going to last 6 months. Nobody's going to talk about them 62 years later on a podcast. So we got to get in on it right now. So they didn't know what to do. So they were asking, what's in the pipeline? What's coming down in Zodiac Records? And they go, we have this song called My Boy Flat Top that we're about to release. And it's by a singer named Fia Chaplin. And they go, hold it, hold it, hold it. We got to change this right now. We're going to go re-record that song. And instead of My Boy Flat Top, we're going to have it as my Beetle Boy. That's going to be the name of this song. So go back in, re-record the whole thing, and just use My Beetle Boy right there. So they do that. Okay, they do that. They get it done. So now they have 100. They have thousands of these records rented. The 45 is ready to go. Well, they forgot to change the name on the label. All right. So the label still says My Boy Flat Top. All right. So this is what the label looks like right there. My Boy Flat Top on Zodiac label. All right. So they go, well, what are we going to do now? We changed this so that we can do this. So here we go. This is a year or so before the infamous Butcher cover. All right. So what do? They go, here's what we'll do. Run down to the local printer, print some one by one squares with my Beetle Boy on there that can peel off, and we're going to have all the staff go through. We're going to peel off these things and stick them right over My Boy Flat Top. So it says My Beetle Boy. So what did they do? It looks like this, My Beetle Boy. And you can still see the square. Yeah, no, it's not looking very good, but
Where did you get
you
that?
can still, this is online. You can still see the square of where they stuck that on My Beautiful Boy. And that was their novelty record. So what happened? The kids at home, some of them they don't know, they just leave it alone. Some of them are just like the butcher cover. They're going, what's under this name? So they're barely peeling off and oh my gosh, it's My Boy Flat Top. So how cool is that? And it's the background stories like that I love. I can say, Jude, and there's other songs like it. So before he was in the right place at the wrong time, Dr. John had a Beatle novelty song, okay? Before raindrops fell on his head, B.J. Thomas sang a Beatle novelty song. And one of my favorite, before he wrote, See That Girl, Watch That Scene, Digging the Dancing Queen, Stig Anderson had a Beatle novelty song. And the list just goes on and on and on.
I have so many thoughts about what you just said. Number one, what is the who was the Beatle they left behind? Was that for Stu or Pete, or is it a fictitious person?
Well, you know what? I've yet to hear the song. Remember, it was unpublished, and I can't even find it on the old Jackie Gleason shows. So I can't even 100% answer that question right
I
now.
wish we could see that show. Wouldn't that be
Yeah,
interesting?
I've been looking for it every day.
Wow. Who can we get on
Do
that?
you, if I was to guess, I just know how these songs go. Somebody, we'll just say Ringo. Ringo, they were at a stage and they left him behind. And the
Okay.
whole song talks about what Ringo did trying to get back to the Beatles.
Okay, if anybody out there listening to us could help us find that Jackie Gleason show on the 4th of July, what year did you say? 1960?
1964. The
Boy,
Beatles they left behind. Fred Ebb is the key to that song right there. He was the songwriter.
yeah, I'll go in half on the Beatles novelty songs book, Terry, if you will, and we'll send it to them if they can send you a copy. Wouldn't that be the
That
coolest
was,
to actually see it?
oh
Okay,
yeah.
my other thing is, if I could time travel, can you imagine going back to John and Paul on the day that they didn't get to go to see Buddy Holly at the Liverpool Philharmonic?
How
And they,
about that?
they couldn't afford it. And say to them, well, hang on, because in just a few months, everybody except for Buddy is going to be on a record singing about you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. How
Is
about
that,
that? How cool is that?
I know. And Harry Nilsson, beware. Your turn is coming, buddy.
Yes, exactly. And
Don't go to the troubadour.
you know what? A lot of these songs, if you think about it, everybody's turn is coming.
Yes,
Everybody later on is going to do something. Most of them are.
yes.
That's the cool things about some of these. Everybody's going to do something.
Well, from the moment that I picked up the book, I usually sit in bed reading it and flipping through page by page by page. I'm like, well, there's a song about Ringo. Well, there's another song about Ringo. Well, there's another song about Ringo. Tell us about this popular Beatle who is more popular than John.
You know what? When you think about it, Ringo and his doll. All right. They did research. They asked Rimco, these guys right here, the Rimco company. They said, what's your most popular doll? And they said Ringo. They said Ringo's out selling everybody 5-1 in the
Yeah.
United States in 1964. So the novelty songs really are just following the trend of that time, the things that are going on. You have you have novelty songs about, bear with me, Ringo Beat, Ringo Bell, Ringo Comes to Town, Ringo Boy, Ringo Dear, Ringo Did It, Ringo Dingo, Ringo for President, Ringo I Love You, Ringo I Want to Know Your Secret, Ringo Won't You Marry Me, Ringo the Rollicking Reindeer, and then Ringo's Doctor, Ringo's Dog, Ringo's Jerk, which was a dance, Ringo's Love Lost, Ringo's Walk, and then one of my favorites, Ringo, Ringo, Little Star. That's the name of the song. So you got all kind of stuff that just talked about Ringo all the time.
He was one of the thing that Chuck Gunderson points out, and you said, he's 5 to 1 more popular. But if you take the buttons sold at the Hollywood Bowl and you combine the buttons sold for I Love Paul, I Love John, and I Love George, and you combine them all three together, Ringo outsold them that day 4 to 1 combined. So hey, Ringo, I'm sure you're never listening to this, but if you do, good on you, lad.
Exactly. It's just the time he was just a lovable character, both in the songs and in the merchandise that they sold.
Now, there are even songs about Liverpool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us.
And I think of this, I think, you know what? And I included these in the novelty songs because if you think about it, Jude, some of these novelty songs I've included, I think to myself, would these songs have ever even been written if it wasn't for the Beatles? And the answer is no. You got 5 songs out there that are all titled Liverpool. That's because you didn't have to copyright titles, so you could have 5 songs named Liverpool. They didn't care. You have that Liverpool sound with the Mercy beat. You got two Liverpool. You got My Baby's in Liverpool. And then, of course, you got Liverpool Stomp, Liverpool Theme, Liverpool Baby, Liverpool Bound, Liverpool Drag, Liverpool Drive. The Liverpool Girls, Liverpool is Cool, Liverpool Landing, Four Boys from Liverpool, a girl from Liverpool, the group from Liverpool, the guy with the long Liverpool hair, and one of my favorites that I'm still not sure what it's about, a Liverpool great from Hairsville. I'm going to have to find that one to see what that is about. And you know what? And I was going to throw something in really quick. It's not just Liverpool. You got the Mersey River right there. Well, Morning on the Mersey. It's a 45 right there. Would Morning on the Mersey ever have been in 45 in a song like that? For me to collect like that, no, it would have never been there. So it's just a great odd thing, is what it is.
And of course, later, 60, well, it would be included. 65, Fred Lennon's My Life, My Love, My Home.
Boy,
And and in 1994 or 5, there was a song written by Kessler and Kessler called Home to Liddy Again, which
there
is
you
on
go.
YouTube.
There you go. There you go.
That's amazing. Everybody, you don't want to miss this book. This is stuff you absolutely do not know. It's not, oh, it's the same stuff I've read 1,000 times. You've never read this. You've never seen this. And for those of you who cherish the Beatles, you're going to be so proud because just as I said a moment ago, they in like 2 years, once it's all finalized, once Ringo's in there with them and they've got that chemistry going on, they're attracting the stars that they dreamed of being to write songs about them. And that's pretty magical. So, Terry, where can they get these
There,
novelty songs?
my website is www.fabgear, and that's one word, but it's fab and it's gear, as they say in the UK. So one word, fabgear.company, not com, not com, it's dot company. So it's the fabgear.company. That's where you go to find all that stuff.
Writing the entire word out, company?
Yes, the whole word, yes.
Fabgear.company.
You got
Okay.
it.
We'll put that on the screen as
Okay.
well. And how I know you do a lot more than just this research, which should be enough, especially since you did the layout. Uh, how can people follow you on social media where you do other very cool things?
I am on I'm on a site called NIMS Memorabilia, all one word, and we're on all the social media sites. I'm very fortunate. Like for example, on Facebook, we just went to 16,000 people who follow us on that NIMS Memorabilia site on Facebook, and it's a lot of work, but we have a lot of fun with it. We put a lot of information out there that you might not find other places.
Yeah, you do. Very cool, one of a kind, interesting info. And how many times a week do you post? Because you post pretty frequently, and that's difficult to do.
Every day. Probably about 4 or 5 times a day.
Wow. That's impressive. That's really impressive. So follow him, and it's Nim's memorabilia,
Yes.
all one word, and
Yeah.
we'll put that on the screen as
Yeah.
well. Okay, so at the end of every Tell Me Why, we always ask people, what is your favorite John quote? But you were one of the first people to agree to be on my podcast, and I really appreciate it. And I've already asked you that question. So my question to you is there a song about John? A
There
novel?
are in the book, you have Dear John by the Joy Sisters. You have, this was a period right around where he had his religious quote and all that. So you have a song called Jesus Yes, John No
Oh,
by the Bob Terry and the Young Patriots. And you have, but on the other hand, you have Johnny's Polka, which was by Dick Pillar. I mean, you do all the different ones. But the one I'm going to talk about right now actually is not in the book because it's actually a 1969 novelty song, and you can't beat it. I'm sorry, you can't beat it. There's a song called John, You've Went Too Far This Time. All right, so if we remember the John and Yoko album cover where maybe they don't have clothes on, all right, well, apparently they didn't like that. All right, so this young singer named Rainbow, and that's Rainbo. All right, she sings her song, John, you've gone too far this time. All right, so it's you can listen to it once and you can go, oh well, whatever. But here we go again. It's the asterisk. It's the rest of the story on that. Rainbow decides, you know what? In the 70s, she goes, I'm not the singer. There's something about this. I'm not doing well and all that. I'm gonna change careers and I'm gonna be an actress, maybe. Okay, well, Rainbow, you can do that. All right. So Rainbow gets into some of these small bit parts in movies and all that. And then Rainbow hits it big. All right, she hits it big with her name and all that. And I find it kind of ironic, Jude, that her song was John, You've Gone Too Far this time. Because sometimes you can think about the movie that she made that everybody knows. She might have gone a little far because who was Rainbow? Rainbow was actually Sissy Spacek in Carrie.
no.
That's Rainbow right there. You talk about maybe going too far this time. That's her and Carrie. How's that? So
That is hilarious.
it's the asterisks that, how about that? It's the asterisks that I love, Jude.
That is just so great. I love it. And I think that Mimi would have liked to have had a copy of John, You've Gone Too Far this time. She probably would have cherished that.
About that.
Oh, that is so good. Well, Terry, it is always a happy time when we are getting a chance to chat and visit. And I wish you great success. I think this book is going to be a huge seller. People there is too much stress in the world right now, and there's too much unhappy. This book is your happy place,
There you
and
go.
it's interesting, and it will inform you, but more than that, you will just smile from the moment you open the cover. So, Terry, thank you for bringing some happy into the world.
Thank you so much. And I think that was maybe part of the deal. I love the subject matter where everybody can smile, where it gives you that memory trigger of things that went on back then that you remember things and you, oh, I know that. I remember hearing that. Oh, that's a great story. I remember that person. It's those memory triggers that I like, the stories that are behind that. And I think this book brings some of them right back to life.
It really does. It really does. And we thank all of our viewers on the Tell Me Why channel on YouTube and to everyone listening on Beatles-Rama. Thank you for joining us as well. Get out and get Beatles novelty songs 1964 to 1966 by the one and only Terry Crain. Terry, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Goodbye, everyone. Ta-ra and shine on.